So first is welcome everyone to the Cloud Job Skilling series. I am so excited to see all of you. Before we get started, it'll take a couple of minutes before we do. I just have some warm-up questions so we know that you are all warmed up, ready to chat with us. We have a fantastic speaker, Monika Gupta from Microsoft. You get to learn a lot from her today. So here are my questions. So tell me which stage of the career you are. Like, are you entering the workforce, moving from non-tech to tech workforce, or moving into the leadership roles? I just want to know which stage of your career you are in today. Go ahead and put it in the chat for me. Are you entering the workforce, moving from non-tech to tech workforce, or moving to leadership roles, or taking on, reskilling yourself so you can be more, so you're from account management, fantastic, tech role. Moving from non-tech to tech, looking for the first-time job, moving into leadership roles, moving from non-tech to tech, just entering the workforce, beautiful. Well, welcome everyone. I think you will learn so much today in this conversation. The next question I have is, are you new to Women in Cloud? If you are, say yes in the chat for us. Well, for all the members who are new to Women in Cloud, welcome. We are a community-led organization generating $1 billion in economic access. And we focus a lot on the workforce development, especially around the cloud and AI workforce development. And really ensuring that you all land into beautiful jobs in the tech and start to lead some really amazing roles that are happening right now. So with that, let's get started, shall we? Say yes in the chat, saying that, yes, we are ready, you're all engaged. Say yes, we will get started. Okay, fantastic. So first is welcome again to the Cloud Job series. So excited to see all of you. The Cloud Job series is really a set of events which are designed for the job seekers to really get access and develop necessary skills to thrive in the cloud computing industry. These events feature experts who share their knowledge and also various cloud topics that we get to learn about from them, especially around tech interviews, executive presence, resume building, understanding the cloud infrastructure, data security and privacy, and more. And these job skilling series happens once a month, is really ideal for people who are looking to start their career in cloud computing, or they are moving from non-tech to tech roles, and also moving into the leadership roles so you can remain competitive in the job market. If you haven't listened to the past sessions, please feel free to learn more about it, and you can reach out to Marissa on our team. She can give you access to it. Now that you're here for 1 hour, we want to ensure you have a fantastic experience. So my next question for you is, when you think about excelling in your tech interview, what do you want to learn today? Go ahead, put it in the chat. Next slide, please. When you think about excelling in your tech interview, what do you want to learn today? If you're thinking, that's fantastic. We'll wait till the first chat comes in. How to highlight my transferable skills. Fantastic, Ray. You do get a $5 Starbucks card for really energizing the organic community. How to stand out. Beautiful. What else do you want to learn? You don't want to waste one hour without really the overall structure. Absolutely, we will definitely discuss. What is the turning point is for cracking successful interviews, aligning my DEI skills with tech, how to explain gaps in employment. Beautiful, beautiful. What else? How to answer in the best way. And the most important question we'll also address is how to use the chat GPT, because that's the topic of the hour and also the year. So I'm Chaitra Vedulapalli. I'm the president of Women in Cloud. I'm so excited to have Monika Gupta today. She's the general manager of Microsoft and also a very good friend of mine. She has 25 years of experience in the tech industry, and she has worked for 16 years at Microsoft, and she has master's in computer science. Today, she leads the engineering team of hundreds of people to deliver employee experience at Microsoft. So I'm really excited to have her here, and also help hundreds of people who have signed up to be part of it, to really understand the necessary knowledge to secure the job in the cloud industry. So welcome, Monika. So excited you are here.
Thanks, Chaitra. I am excited as well. It's such an important topic which never gets old. In fact, keeps evolving. So I'm really excited for today's session.
Fantastic. Now, Monika, I did give a very brief description of you. But can you share more about you and some highlights of your career? Take me through your 25 years of journey. What was it like to become a general manager?
Well, it's difficult to sum up 25 years into one slide, though what you see here is sort of an attempt to do that. But what you see here, you get a glimpse into me, right? What have been my professional highlights and what is on my personal side, what value I value on the personal side. But if I was to sum up my journey, I would really sum it up in two words: adventure and exploration. And that really sums up my 25 years, if you think about it. And the reason I say that is that I started off, as you mentioned, with my master's computer science as a hardcore techie, doing systems and kernels programming. And this is back in the day, 25 years back, I was actually working on code generators, which, as you know, now is such a big industry and it has evolved so much, but we were working on that even 25 years back. And from there, I actually went into IT services, and that was a conscious decision on my part. And the reason I did that was maybe that was a turning point in my career, from going just from being a hardcore techie to actually learning the business side of the world. And the reason I did that was that we build technical solutions, right? We are in the tech industry. We build solutions for solving business problems. And you cannot do that if you're not going and learning what are those businesses, what is really the problem that you're trying to solve. And that gave me a ton of experience across multiple sectors: education, finance, public utilities, technology, of course. I think I also worked in worldwide licensing programs, things like that. And that just gave me this global perspective of what we need to develop to solve problems. And the other thing that I really learned from all of that experience was that we need to wear, as people in the tech industry can think that, oh, I just need to go and design and solve problems and just develop some solution. But actually, we need to wear hats, different hats at different point of time while solving the technical problems. I was doing business development, I was doing design, I was doing project management, I was doing engineering, I was doing deployment, I was doing support. I was sitting and talking to a customer about a potential solution we could give to them. And they would turn around and say, well, that's all good, but this that you already gave doesn't work. And I'm sitting there right there, done in troubleshooting for them. So those are the hats that you wear. And then you learn that how can you develop really good technical solutions to cater to the problems that we have in the industry. But then I felt I was becoming a jack of all trades and sort of losing that master touch. So I joined Microsoft around 16 years back, and I joined as an IC. And that was, again, a conscious decision because I really wanted to get back into specialization. And I worked as an IC in probably the highest visible, most crazily, heavily focused, executive focused part of Microsoft, where we were actually generating, well, I was responsible for processing systems which were generating 80 billion revenue at that time for Microsoft. And that was, as you can understand, it had a lot of executive eyes. It was a crazy time. but it was fun and it gave me a lot of learnings to grow as a leader. From there, I took on different hats again. I took on leadership hats in the QA. I took on leadership hats in program management. I had multidisciplinary roles as well. And as you mentioned, I'm a general manager. I lead the engineering team for employee experiences, which is 300 plus people across the globe. And I would say my biggest learning from all this has been that building technical solutions is a team sport. While you may have heard of that saying, right? You can, if you want to go fast, you walk alone, but you want to go far, you walk with others. So that's been sort of my learning.
Monica, very well said. Kind of the bias people have that when you build tech solution, you're behind the computer and just doing it. But I think breaking the bias for a lot of people, it's a team sport. You have to collaborate with each other. So before we get started, I just want to get the audience. We'll have a interview style with Monica, and then we'll have a Q&A where you get to ask the question and she will answer everything. So before I ask her a question, I'm going to ask you, what do you think tech companies look during an interview? What do you think they're looking for? Now, coming to you, Monica, as people are talking about, what do they think they're looking for a tech interview? What do you think tech companies are looking in people interviewing for a tech jobs?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, the typical things that you would generally hear and they would be relevant is obviously coding, programming, UX design skills, web, mobile, the work that we do for deployment, support, testing, all those are relevant. But I do think that they are based on the actual role and the level at which you are looking to get into those tech roles. The requirements can then, based on the level, place emphasis whether it's one over the other. And I would also say that it's more broader than that. Those are foundational skills that tech companies are looking for. And as you can see, the research that has been done, these are the top tech skills probably in the past that have been most in demand. And these are heavily focused on programming, development, design, testing, automation. And I would actually add that the tech companies are looking for really are problem solvers, designers, analytical skills, people who can go into the problem space, thinkers who can not just think about solving the problem for today, but also keep in mind the future. And I think one of the other things is with the latest developments, I would add data engineering, data science, and ML AI to that list, which will be topping that list as well. But as I mentioned, the broader skills that if you think about what managers are really looking for, right? Not just the tech experience that you might have, but do you have the technical aptitude to go and solve the problem? And that is very relevant for people who are wanting to move from non-tech to tech backgrounds. You need to be able to demonstrate the aptitude. You're smart people. You can learn. You can pick up those programming languages. You can pick up those skills, but you need to be able to demonstrate that aptitude. The other thing that, as I mentioned, what we are looking for is the end-to-end design. Do you think about just your piece, or are you thinking about the end-to-end design? Because you're solving the problem for the customer, not for you. And so that's also what managers look for. The other thing that gets a little overlooked, I feel, when we are just focusing on, especially people who are already in the tech jobs and they are working on their expertise in a particular technology or language, are you really thinking for building for performance, reliability, operability, or are you just thinking about the immediate feature or code that you're writing? So these are really important things that managers look for. Other things that you can see is, do you go and try and build everything from scratch? Or do you really try and look around and see if you can build on the ideas of others so that you can save time, money, and also energy for the company and for ourselves? Collaboration and communication, I cannot stress enough, just like I was mentioning, it is a team sport. And for a team sport to be successful, you to be successful at that, you need to have really strong collaboration and communication skills. And lastly, I would say this one is sort of the, I guess, the no-brainer here, but it's also something people don't necessarily emphasize when they are interviewing. Are you a person who can do it despite all the challenges? Are you showing that kind of an attitude? And are you coming across as that person?
Monica, very well said. And I think it's the whole point of like what the managers are looking for is so important, right? Because that is what will get you the job, the technical skills you can acquire anytime. So now my question to you is, most of them, when we ask them what they're looking for, what are the best ways to engage with recruiters and hiring manager to stand out in an interview process? And I also want to ask each one of you is ask questions in the chat so I can moderate Monica as we go through it. But Monica, what do you think is important for the hiring managers and recruiters?
Yeah, I think there are a few things. I mean, you will go through this whole process of engaging with the recruiters, right? You'll go, obviously, I'm not going through the job hunt process itself. I'm assuming we are at a point where you have probably been identified as a candidate and you're looking forward to an interview, and you're engaging with a recruiter. So what are the different kind of ways the recruiters engage with you and you could be engaged in by the company or the recruiter that you're working on? These are the different ways that different companies employ. And obviously these ways evolve as companies are trying to figure out how they look for the best candidates. The biggest one and the most natural one, which everybody knows, is the initial screening call, whether it's a phone or a video call. You are engaging with your recruiters to get the clarity. Well, it's both ways, by the way. They are looking to get clarity based on your skill set, and you are looking to get clarity based on what is the role. Does that really fit into what you are looking for? Similarly, you can see there are other ways that companies engage. For example, it could be an in-person interview. Now with whole hybrid environment and the remote working, it's probably becoming less and less as much in the tech sector, especially. But people will be probably called for that if the job is a full on-site job, right? And the company could be still employing those methods. They can be group interviews, they can be panel interviews, they can be technical tests that you are being administered much before you even come in for interviews as part of your whole process. I think the main point I would like to emphasize here is that you should use this process to get clarity. Ask as many questions as you can to engage with your recruiters, managers. Find the ways that you will get evaluated, what will be covered at each step, what you should expect, and don't hesitate. The biggest mistake I feel we make, or I've seen people make, is they're not clear. What is that interview for? What is the role? What is exactly what the team does? What is the manager looking for? So it's not the recruiter's job to explain it to you. I would put it around and say it is your job to find out. And they would give you the general outline, but it's up to you how much you can go dig into and find and be curious, engage with them. They are juggling multiple things. So if you're not hearing back from them, go ahead and try and engage and try and get that reminder out, because that's important for you to be successful through that process. A last thing I should mention, I guess you do need to think about your professional profile. It's the social media is the world we live in. LinkedIn, your LinkedIn profiles matter. It's many companies actually ask for a link to your LinkedIn profile. So go learn some tips and tricks to make your LinkedIn profile polished up, stand out, more professional. There is a huge material or collateral out there that you can really learn from, how to make your LinkedIn profile better. Your social media profile can play a part as well in some of the jobs. So think about those angles when you're engaging.
Monica, very well said. We did do a session last session, which was about how to stand out on your social channels, especially the LinkedIn piece. But we are seeing some really good questions from the audience, and keep going because I will facilitate each one of it. The other thing is, yes, you got the how to go about engaging. What does the technical interview timelines look like? Because it changed in over the years, and there's so much you need to be prepared for. Because if you remember, Monica, when we joined the tech industry, we didn't have to go and do a problem solving, or we just had to tell them what our ideas are. We never were asked to come and code, right? But talk me through what the technical interview looks like right now.
Yeah, and as you said, it keeps changing, and I'm assuming it will keep changing, especially now with the technology evolving so much, with MLAI playing a big part. But the main 4 elements that you can see on the slide. The first one is phone screening. I think I talked about it. That's a great way to be able to get your questions answered. But remember, every time you're engaging, whether it's a recruiter or somebody just doing a screen, I think one of the things that is a big lesson learned for me, myself, as an interviewer and as an interviewee, is that every time is an opportunity for you to show off your skills, whether it's the softer skills, whether it's the technical skills. That's an opportunity. So don't waste that opportunity. Companies do have these, some companies employ offline. So for example, they will send you the challenge and they expect you to come back with an answer. They can expect you to come back with a presentation on the architecture or the design, or even a coding problem that you might have to do online, or you could do offline, and different companies do it differently. Some companies even actually have projects, like they want you to engage in a project, actual real team environment, and they want to really use that to assess how you would perform as in a team and how would you help add value to the team. So there are companies who would do that. That's once you have cleared those kind of rounds, then you could get into an in-person or a remote now because of the virtual whiteboard challenge, as you mentioned. Now, keep in mind, people generally assume that maybe a coding challenge only, but again, it depends on the role, the level at which you are coming in, what is the exact nature of that role and expectation of that role. You could be just asked to come in and show your design skills. You could be asked to come in and really being given a problem to go solve. And what they need to really look for is, how are you solving the problem? What's your thought process? And how are you walking them through that thought process? And then I cannot emphasize enough, after these rounds are done, there are going to be time periods where you would be probably sitting there wondering what happened. I mean, this is a well-known tip and trick, but I cannot emphasize it enough again, because this is something that you should go back and say, thank you for the experience, what you learned from it, maybe share a couple of takeaways that you learned, right? And that use that again to show your softer skills, self-awareness. Hey, I could have, meaning I learned this, and this is something that I will continue to work on. That just shows self-awareness, and continue to follow through. Because even if you may not land that particular job, that could still make you a candidate for a future job, because people may like you and they would remember that you said that or you did that, or they can again tap into you at a later point of time. So that's what I would say. These are the 4 different stages in general in the tech industry.
Beautiful, Monica. I have seen people who have the human skills or softer skills, they usually succeed in the long run. And because you can work with them, we can integrate with them in the team ecosystem. The next question I have is, how do you prepare for a technical interview? Because things have changed a lot, especially because of the cloud and AI. It's more services driven rather than just writing code.
27 fog.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I heard some disturbance. Are you hearing some disturbance too?
Yeah, I did. I don't know what happened, but I think it's okay now.
Okay. Yeah, I think the first one I would talk about is use the STAR method. It's a well-known method in the industry. If you don't know about it, I can get into the STAR method, but that's really something that gives structure to how you prepare and how you respond. And then I think I mentioned about be curious before. What I meant by that is not just knowing about the job or the manager or the problem. It's really researching. Do your research. Do your research about the company. What are they working on? What's important to them? And then accordingly, that can help you tailor some of your responses to what they can be looking for and how can you draw parallels from what you have done or you can bring to the table, even if you have not done, and you can draw parallels and emphasize upon that during your interview. I mean, again, because you are applying for a tech role, and if it is a hardcore tech role, then you should be knowing about the common design frameworks, the design patterns, the coding strategies, how you solve problems, how do you optimize a problem. Most of the time, that's what the interviewers are looking for. They're not just looking for you to solve the problem, they're looking for you also to see if you can optimize a solution. And last one, if you have resources available, friends, family, people, mentors, leverage them, do some mock technical interviews with them. There are a bunch of online resources that are there, which you can actually test yourselves, but you should try and do some role plays. That always helps. It helps calm your nerves. It helps with the confidence. A lot of it is also about confidence, right? So that helps you get prepared. And I can jump into the STAR method, Chaitra, if you think that will help the team.
I think so. I think so. If you can kind of help people
Yeah.
understand the STAR method, because I was thinking, what is the STAR method? Can you explain?
Yeah, sure. So I think the STAR method is a simple way of thinking about your responses and thinking about how you prepare for the interview questions. So obviously, as I mentioned, preparation is the key. But when you are really thinking about a response to a question, start by always describing the situation. And again, keep it concise and crisp. You don't need to go into a long story because people will lose you, or you will lose the people. And then think about that specific event or situation. What was the key thing that you want to emphasize about that situation? Was it the complexity? Was it the challenge? What was it that you want to really emphasize in the context? And then what is the actual task that you were tasked to do or you were actually holding responsibility for? Now, this one can be a little tricky. The reason is sometimes people just talk about, okay, what was the challenge was my deadline, but really think about a technical part of what was the technical challenge that you helped solve. Time and again, what I've seen is people make that mistake. Say if an interviewer is asking you, what was the biggest technical challenge you solved and you're responding to it, you might explain the situation and then you might rush into, hey, my responsibility was I was helping get this out of the door, and the challenge was that we were not able to integrate well and things like that. But they are losing sight of the actual technical challenge that the interviewer may be looking for to understand whether you'd really help solve something or not. Again, the actions that you took, that's part of the A. This actually helps the interviewer to understand your thought process, really, because the actions you take are reflective of how you will respond when there are challenges on the ground. So that's something that you should be able to really articulate well. And the results should be not in just in terms of, yeah, I delivered the project and that went successful, it went live. Really think about what did it help enable for the company. If there are any figures there, quantitative measures that you can pull up, that really lands that impact and gives the interviewer an idea about the kind of challenges you are capable of taking up. So that's it, STAR method in a nutshell.
This is a very good, Monica. You know, when I'm interviewing too, I'm looking for them to think through do they understand the situation? Can they articulate the task and how they solve from a technical nature or a business nature and take action and also quantify the result of the work that they have? That is so important, and it's a communication skill. Now, Monica, I know people keep asking you for advice, and I want to ask is, what is the biggest advice you would give to a job seeker in this current climate, because things are becoming tighter and tighter. The interview process is becoming harder and harder right now.
Yeah, I think this is one of the advices I would definitely give, as you can see on the screen, that obviously, even to get your foot in the door, you need to be engaged with the recruiter and really leverage the recruiter to help you understand and get some guidelines for preparation. Not just assume that this is the job, because look at the job descriptions, they will be pretty generic. And so for you to get an understanding of what is it, as I mentioned, that they are looking for, you can really get some valuable insights from the recruiters. It gives a great tip for job hunters. But I do think, if you ask me, my biggest advice that I have is sort of summarized into 3 I's, and 3 I's for interviewing, because we are talking about interviewing. The first I is about inquire. And as I've been emphasizing, being curious. Do your research. I cannot emphasize this enough. Many times when people are looking at different roles, they are applying for multiple roles, and they think that this is similar. So whatever I prepared for this one, I can sort of, massage the responses for the next one, and I don't really need to do extra work for it. But I do think that you really need to be curious about what exactly is the important thing that they're looking for, and how then you can tailor your responses to that. It will really help you immensely. And trust me, you will learn a lot in that process. So inquire is my first one. Second one is improvise. So while you're going through that process we talked about, based on your research or based on what you learn through that process, for the first step or the second step, you will be talking to people, you will be learning a ton from them. You will be able to gauge a lot. And from that, you should be able to improvise your responses. You should be able to draw similarities to what you are bringing to the table, so that they can then think about you as, oh, this is the person who can add value to me or for my team, and not just look at you for your coding or technical prowess. They are looking to take a bet on you, so they want to make that assessment. So keep improvising as you learn through that process. So second I is improvise. And the third one is impress. And what I mean by that is stand out. I really think about it as a recall value. Why should they remember you? They are interviewing multiple candidates, and many of those candidates may be bringing technical skills and all those skills to the table. Why would they recall you? Why will they think about you as the strong candidate? Sometimes it boils down to that, and that can be sort of relayed from you really telling your story. And I don't mean it that make up artificial stories, but when you're conveying the work that you do, try and do it in an interesting way, in a story format, so that, like the STAR method that we talked about, but in a story format that people can relate to. We all love stories, and we remember stories, and those stories resonate with us and they stick with us. So try and use those to see how that adds to that recall value for you.
Beautiful. I love the 3 I's for interviewing. I think this was the most easiest way to remember about interviewing. So my question to all the audience is, did you take away something from this conversation? Put it in the chat. What did you take away? And for me personally, Monica, is the recall value, is the stories they say. When they're abstracty, it really doesn't. I want to look at people as a holistic human being who are coming to the workforce, and that I can have a conversation with them, not just the technical, also about life, about movies, about food, about anything, there is a connection that can be made, and that needs to happen. So before we go into the ChatGPT conversation, how many of you actually have requested a warm introduction to a recruiter using our Get Introduced platform? If you have not done, you're missing out, because a lot of these recruiters are actually waiting to hear from you, and we will get that warm introduction, because getting through the software in front of the recruiter can be very tough. And that's where Women in Cloud comes in and does those warm introductions. So it short circuits that getting inquiry process and improvising those areas. We get you very close to the recruiter. So Monika, let's talk about ChatGPT. I cannot tell you, I think I say that 1,000 times a day nowadays, and it's the conversation of the year, probably a decade. Can you use for an interview preparation? Because I've seen hilarious videos everywhere. So tell me more about it.
Well, yeah, AI is definitely evolving so fast. And in the last couple of months, you've just seen it blossom or bloom into every aspect of how we do our work, especially in the tech. It's a great tool. It's a great tool that can be leveraged to help. There are funny videos. In fact, if you want to play the funny video, Chaitra, I thought it would be fun for the team to watch.
Absolutely.
There are funny videos doing the rounds on TikTok and stuff about how ChatGPT is disrupting the whole tech engineering.
Let's do that one.
How I Got 27 Fung. Offers in 3 days.
Oh, that is hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, but well, don't use ChatGPT for cheating on your coding problems. Because remember, again, as I said to you, that they're not just looking for you to come up with some solution. We are also looking at how you're helping design for the future, how you're helping optimize the solutions. And so ChatGPT can help you prepare, but you can actually use it. You can use it right now, even now, to get feedback, whether it's on your resume, cover letters. You can use it to give you some practice questions. Use it for your research. I kept emphasizing about research. ChatGPT is a great tool for researching. It will cut down your time like crazy, and it will help you be more articulate as well in your responses. So use it for helping with your communication, brushing up on that industry language. So it can be a great tool for helping prepare. It can also, I mean, if you can go to the next one, maybe.
Next slide, please.
Yeah, and that's just an example, right? You can say, hey, what can be a whiteboard challenge? And it can throw up some examples, and you can use that for preparation. You can even use it for doing some role plays, or asking you for, if you go to the next one, example coding challenges. So things like that, you can use it to really learn and prepare yourself. So it's a great tool for helping to prepare. I would say that. Well, don't go down the route of the TikTok videos, but definitely leverage it. And as I said, I think the best thing is leverage technology for your job hunt for a tech job. So definitely leverage the technology that's out there.
I love it, Monika. I love ChatGPT because I think it is like for tech people or non-tech people, it has given a tool for allowing you to research better, to cut down on those crazy amount of searches on Google and Bing, and you cannot get to anywhere. This gives you that simple answers for you to say, oh, this is how I need to think, or maybe I need to go a different route or ask a question. So you get to the answers much quickly. So, but don't copy and paste everywhere, because everyone is also using the same content. So you want to stand out, but this one will make you very resourceful as an individual, and also become smart in how you need to answer a very specific thing. I had somebody say here in the question is like, I'm an introvert and I don't know how to answer these questions. Just ask a question to ChatGPT. It'll tell you how to answer. And it gives you a very good how to have a discussion in an interview setting. It gives you a lot of interesting data. So I would recommend each one of you to at least explore that. So Monika here says, what do you need to avoid when using ChatGPT? We talked about why you should use it, but why you shouldn't be using it.
Yeah, I think as I mentioned, don't use it for, well, I don't want to call it cheating, but yeah, it will generate. So for example, there's a coding challenge given to you. You can give it to ChatGPT, it may throw up something. See, the main thing, as I mentioned, the interviewers are looking for is you. So if you're going to use ChatGPT to just try and ace that question, that's not going to help. That may help you, well, get a good mark for that question. But when you go into the actual in-person interviews or the online or then you might not be able to do that same level, and it's not going to reflect good on you. So I would avoid. You can use it to train yourself. You can use it to really challenge yourself. All those good things that you can use it for. I would say the company is hiring you, and they're looking for you as a whole, as a person who brings not just the tech skills that they're looking for, but also other aspects that we talked about from a softer skill point of view, from a personality point of view, from how you can add value. Are you a long-term bet for them that can help take the company to a new direction? Those are things that you need to really emphasize upon. And I know some people may say, hey, I'm just starting out on my journey. I'm just a newbie. I just came, or I'm coming from non-tech. I don't have the tech skills. As I mentioned, managers are really looking for your aptitude and attitude. If I have to sum it up, aptitude and attitude go a long way in you being able to impress them with who you are and maybe choosing you over somebody who's really experienced but doesn't have the other aspects that they're looking for. So
And Monika, I want to emphasize attitude comes number one. And without a good attitude, a positive attitude, investing in individuals is waste of time in general. And I'm talking from a business owner perspective. And recently I've gone through multiple experiences. So I can reflect on it as the aptitude and attitude both are very important aspects. So for me, it was like, wow, I learned so much. I learned the STAR method. I learned 3 I's for interviewing. I learned about ChatGPT from even to look at the code, because now I can challenge my developers on, show me how you write the code and really compare it with ChatGPT and see, are they really writing the right code, right? So now makes it more easier. Now, before I go into the Q&A for all of you, was this helpful for all of you? As you heard Monika talk about, the process of interviewing, how to ace your interview. Put it in the chat saying, yes, was it helpful? Excellent. As we prepare for the Q&A, I would love you to take a moment. Let's take a minute and please write all the questions you have in mind so I can moderate the Q&A. And my team is preparing a list of all the questions to ask. And in meanwhile, let me tell you, there are 2 opportunities for you to be part of. The first one is the Avanade challenge that is available, which is Embrace Equity. Next slide, please. It is really the first ever International Women's Day Global Hackathon. It's a 2-day hackathon event designed to generate the tech solution for some of today's most pressing equity issue. So when you talked about the recall value, this is a place where you are participating as a team. Go find a team, go and participate on behalf of you and the larger community, and start to think about what kind of solution you can do using the STAR method. You have a method, you have an opportunity, go sign up with 2 to 4 people and participate in an Embrace Equity. It starts on March 4th and 5th. That's where the 2 days of hackathon is happening, and Women in Cloud is a strategic partner of Avanade. So we get to cheer you up. If you have any questions, we are here to support you. The second opportunity is to build your leadership skills. So last year we had the Access Pass, and most of the community members said, no, we need an insider pass. We want to empower and become a leadership. So we want leadership scaling and access. That is an annual program that is made available. So if you really want to build a network of cloud leaders in your network, then that pass is available. So consider as an opportunity for you to be part of if you think this one will add value. So with that said, let me just look at the questions that my team has prepared. Monica, so are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, the first question I have is, what are the steps and tips for a developer role to go into a product manager or a program manager? Is there any tips that you have?
Yeah, and as I mentioned, I myself have done all those roles, both outside Microsoft and within Microsoft. I think that for me, the biggest learning was when I was a developer, I was just thinking technical solution. I was just thinking, what's the best design? What's the best architecture? I wasn't really looking at what's the problem we're trying to solve, why we are trying to solve it. Okay, that why piece is what makes you transition into the program manager and product owner realm. So from you to move into a product and project manager role, couple of things you can do. You can start partnering with any of your product manager, project managers who are working with you to see what is that role that they play. How do they go about? So what's their responsibility? And if you ask me, the responsibility is really defining the what and the why. The why will be, why do you need this product? Why do you need this particular project or solution? And what's the value that is supposed to bring? And the what will be is about what are we trying to build here? And so as you develop those skills, it's easy for you to transition into the project manager, program manager role. A lot of time people think it's about planning and scheduling and coordination, because that's what typical project manager roles or project management is about. But think about it, now with technology evolving, a lot of that work is being done by tools. So what you really need is the skills that allow you to think strategically, to think futuristic. So in order for you to build those skills, it's one of the ways that you can do it is start working with your project manager, program managers, or job shadowing can help you get there. And then once you've really honed that down to understand how you can think about the future, you should be able to look at your communication skills, because that's also a big part of project manager and product manager's role, is to go convince people that why this is required, what we are trying to build, why we're trying to build it. And so communication plays a very big role. So if there are trainings that you need to go get some 360 feedback and see what are those key areas that you need to work on, and that can help you transition into that product manager, project manager role.
Yeah, and Monica, for me personally, I started as a developer, moved into a designer, which is more of a UI UX piece, then moved into administration, so security and infrastructure piece. Then I moved into product management, and then I went into program operations, and then I moved into marketing excellence, and then moved into entrepreneurship, doing all the pieces, right? Fundraising and community building and all that stuff. So those are all the steps, but it was a technical background. I come from electrical engineering, zero computer science knowledge. The only inclination I had was Pascal, right? I knew how the Pascal, and I realized I will never be behind the black screen, right? Just who I am, and I love colors, so I wanted to be very close to the colors, that is people, and how we, develop solutions in the market. So very well said. The second one is, how do you respond during an interview if you don't have the skills they're asking for? Fantastic question.
Yeah, I think there are a couple of reasons, ways you could respond. One, you could tell them that you are aware that you may not have the experience and background that they're looking for, but why do you think you are still a great fit for that role? And for that, you really need to think about your strengths and be able to talk about that. And again, as part of the conversation we just had, if you have researched on what the company is, what can be the things that they are looking for, not necessarily for that role, but the direction the company may be headed in, right? And your strength can actually lend to that direction, then you can use that to emphasize that point. Now, at the end of the day, if they still might want to know, you have to have those skills, otherwise we're not going to hire you. Well, it's up to them. But the point here is you can still emphasize why you, with your strengths, can add value and lend yourself to that direction that they're moving in. Maybe they have not thought about it, but that can jolt their thinking. And I've seen people that actually, whoa, wow, okay, that makes sense. I should go hire this person, right? And so that's something that you can definitely do.
Very well said. So this is a very good question, is like, how do you best answer? Tell me about yourself. I think, Monika, before you answer, I want each one of you to tell me 3 words that describe you. Go put in your 3 words that describe who you are, and that would help all of us to say who you are. So, Monika, how would you answer? Tell me more about yourself. I know that's been asked every conversation.
Yeah, I don't know if the people attended like initially when I was giving my introduction. I think just as I mentioned, like it's if I have 25 years of experience and I'm going to use 10 minutes of the interview to talk about my 25 years of experience is not going to work. And then going back to the standout and recall values. So I would just say, hey, what are those 2-3 things that really you want to highlight and call out? So you don't want to go through your entire journey of what you did, but you want to do it in a way that's interesting for the person to really learn about you. And even through that journey, you should be able to get snippets of you as a person. Like if you said, hey, I moved to this industry, I took a switch in my job, it highlights something for that person to know, oh, you are a risk taker. You took risks and you moved from completely one industry to another industry. It highlights a trait about you, right? So I think the best way to answer it is describe yourself in those, like as you mentioned, Chaitra, try and come up with those 2-3 words or even one sentence in which you want to sum up, because that catches the attention. And then you can highlight some key points. But I would refrain from going through a whole exercise of walking through what you did next and why you did next. Just highlight some salient points there.
Very well said. Like I see, Caleb Wright talk about 3 words that describe them is like innovative, resilient, and results oriented. When you're talking about it, just highlight a little bit more. About me, I am innovative. I come up with amazing solutions or whatever that is. So it kind of amplifies those 3 words with 3 one-liner stories. That's all you need. And that's enough to have a recall value. They'll say, oh, that person talked about 3 things, and that's all they can remember. Don't try to have theses telling about who you are, but be very succinct.
One more thing I would add is not just your professional journey. Try and bring up at least one aspect of something that you love doing on this side. I cannot emphasize enough about the power of that. Sometimes you'll be so surprised that you can find some really good common talking points with the interviewer because you brought up something that you love doing personally.
Absolutely. Next question I have is, if you are someone who's transitioning into a different career, should you mention that in your CV and an interview? I have a perspective, but Monika, what's your perspective on it?
I think you should. And the reason I think is, as I mentioned just now, you're transitioning. You have a reason for transitioning, and just build up your story around that reason. And be able to say that. And sometimes I have seen, well, not sometimes, most of the times, people actually appreciate that because that shows your courage, that shows your risk-taking abilities, that shows that you're willing to make a change, you're adaptable. There's so many things that highlights, at least for me, when I look at a CV which says, oh, was in this industry, then did this, and then moved this. Wow, okay, that person brings so much more richness to their experience. At least that's what I feel.
Beautiful, beautiful. The next question I have is, how can someone with little or no experience be confident in an interview? Let me take a stab at it, Monika. You can add the color commentary. If you have to say, I have little or no experience, you should not be talking about that personally. You should talk from a place where you have some experience, you have some lived experience, you have something, and say, this is what I've done, and I'm exploring to expand in this area because this is the identity of a person I want to become. And that's why I'm exploring these opportunities. I will never undermine what you bring to the table. Bring your things to the table that you have, and then advance to the next level of growth that you're looking for. And this job opportunity or a consulting opportunity allows you to do that. Monika, do you have a different perspective on this?
No, I think I agree with what you're saying. It depends on how you're defining experience to be. Experience, if you're thinking about professional experience, working in a company, doing a certain set of jobs which are aligned to the skills, versus, as Chaitra, you called out, you have experience, you're doing something, you've gone through your studies, you've done projects on the side, you're doing your work for community, all that is experience. It again boils down to how you build that out and bring it as your strength. So I wouldn't say that, yeah, you don't have experience. You may not have industry experience because you're just starting out on your career, but you can always use all the work that you did to bring out the kind of experience that you bring to the table.
Beautiful. Mary said, as I've heard that on the resume for technical jobs like software engineer or architect, we shouldn't include soft skills. Is this true, especially for career transitioner who may not have experience in tech and lots of tech skills? I don't know who gave that kind of advice. I don't know if I agree with that.
I wouldn't agree with it. Yes, you are applying for a software skill. They might be asking you for a specific set of, well, do you have coding experience in this, on that, or certain technology? That's all great, but I wouldn't. I think I spoke about it. Apart from that, there are so many other things that managers are looking for, and you should be able to emphasize upon that in your resume.
So well said, Monika. And this is a question from, if as an inexperienced job seeker and staying home mom, how do I crack into a developer world? Here is my 3-step process. First is get skilled. That means you go and learn the basics about cloud and AI. You need to be certified. And right now, micro-credentialing is easily accessible. If you're part of the Women in Cloud, the scholarships are always available. So apply for it. Hopefully you get it, because if you wrote a very good ask of why you need that, Marissa is the one behind the scene. She will approve if your case statement is really powerful. Once you have the certification, then network, understand what people are looking for, but focus on one or two, a hyperscaler, whether it's Microsoft or Google, depend on that. Like focus on one area, because companies are really investing in a brand, like a hyperscaler brand. And then they're looking for the talent to support the solution building. So you need to know which type of companies you want to work, which kind of technologies you want to work. Don't come to the job role saying, I don't know what I want to do. You won't get a job. You should say, I am certified, I'm looking for this, I want this kind of access and this kind of job. And then it'll open up the door for you. Like the doors will open up because you are very clear. Monika, do you have any other perspective on this?
No, I would like to add something that sometimes people do think, and that's your limiting belief. A lot of tech companies have these programs, which we call, so for example, Microsoft has a LEAP program, where we actually hire people from non-tech backgrounds and we help them transition into tech. And there is there's a whole structure to that program. And there are people who are self-taught, who were in different industries, who were in totally different industry and are moving to tech industry. They just went and learned on their own. They self-taught themselves and they passed that litmus test, and now they are part of that program and then as full-time employees. So there are a lot of correct companies have those kind of programs, so you can take advantage of it as well. But like Chaitra mentioned, you have to get your foundational skills, and there are so many resources these days to be able to tap into, just like you mentioned. I know of one of my mentees, she actually runs a group called Moms Who Code, and she helps moms who are wanting to learn to code. She helps them to learn coding So there are so many people who are trying to help.
Awesome, Monica. This one was a fantastic interview with you. Did you all enjoy it? I personally enjoyed. I learned a lot. Recently, I've not hired any developers, but you made me think about it that I need to go, brush up my own interview skills. So really appreciative. Before we close, this is our standard slide. I would love to know is what were your takeaways and what is one action you will take for preparing yourself to secure your cloud job? What are your takeaways and one action you will take? Monica, what's one action you will take to really unlock access for all these beautiful people who have joined us today?
Now, I am personally very passionate about growing diverse talent. And when I say diverse talent, it's from all walks of life, different people coming with different background, because as I mentioned, the skill sets just adds to the richness. So I'm a big passionate. I'm actually very active in this whole LEAD program I talked about. I'm working with Chaitra, and I will continue to help mentor people to be able to get into tech, especially if they're coming from non-tech backgrounds. So that's one action that I definitely commit to taking.
Awesome. And Monica, we will have you on the Get Introduced platform so people can request warm introductions. So
Sure.
that way they can meet with you. Otherwise, you will get indented links on LinkedIn and you're like, I don't know who to talk to. So we can make it easier for you. Again, on a scale of 1 to 10 for all of you, 10 being fabulous, 1 being, I don't know why I'm here. So tell me, how would you rate today's session? Because we want to get your feedback. We want to get your input. Monica, looks like you have nailed it. People loved what you have done. Beautiful. Again, thank you so much for being here. And what are other topics you would like to hear over the next 3 months? Also put that one in the chat so that we can also create some valuable content and also maybe bring back Monica here so she can give you more insights. Again, it's Thursday, beautiful Thursday. We finished Women in Cloud Annual Summit, and we're kicking off with a Cloud Job series. Absolutely beautiful. And thank you, Monica. You really make a world of difference.
Thank you, Chaitra, and thank
Bye.
you, Marisa and Shireen. You all have been fabulous. Thank you.
Absolutely. And a loud shout out for Siren and Marissa for pulling this beautiful session together. Let's give a big round of applause for them and have a fantastic day. Thank you, Monica. See ya.
Bye.